talked about the struggles of the Rangers offense. Obviously, Evan Carter is still out. He's hurt. But Wyatt Langford has been a big part of the discussion just because I think so many of us expected so much of him coming into the regular season. And you look on Friday night, Wyatt Langford became the first Ranger this season with multiple hits and multiple RBIs in back-to-back games. And then guess what? On Saturday, he did it again to make it 3 straight. And then on Sunday, you had to settle for only 1 RBI and 1 hit. But, I mean, this is somebody who was in an RBI desert. There was no power to be found. And now this month, 2 home runs, 18 RBIs with an OPS of 876. You have seen a dramatic change. Compare that to the shortened May he had where his OPS was 286.
When was the last time he DH'd?
I don't know.
Okay.
I've brought that up.
Yeah, I mean, he's
So
played.
you guys think that's it?
Well, there
right?
is. I mean, I look back at
He's a
Robbie
baseball
Grossman.
player.
Mike, last year, Robbie Grossman
DHs aren't really baseball
was DHing, and he wasn't hitting well. And then Jonah Heim gets hurt, and Robbie Grossman goes on a tear because he's catching. And everybody's like, whoa. Then he found his groove as the DH for the rest of the year.
You're talking about Mitch Garver?
Mitch Garver.
Yeah,
Mitch
no,
Garver.
you had, I mean, Robbie Grossman obviously was a key contributor last year too, but when you brought up catcher, I was like,
I kind of keep them in the same, yeah.
Mitch Garver hit like an all-star when he
June
caught
9th,
last year.
by the way, last time he DH'd.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they're right there together. Is one of the I don't know if we're asking the reason that it's happening or just
I think you could talk about
the excitement of the fact that it actually is happening right now. I think that's the big thing. But he's gotten some comfort in the league. He's starting to find his swing. He's starting to find, he's probably starting to learn how to study pitchers better right now too. So there's a lot of things that are coming together at the same time.
So during the series, sorry, I'm drawing a blank. They just played Kansas City. Who did they play right before that in the series?
The Mets?
The Mets. So I was in the dugout, and Wyatt Langford was getting ready for batting practice, and Eric Nadel had a quick conversation with Wyatt Langford. Wyatt Langford is not big on having conversations. He's just he wants to do his work and
we're aware.
And so Eric Nadel stops him, and he says, hey, because the next day he was going to play center field. So everybody kind of knew that he's going to play center field tomorrow. And so Eric Nadel stops him, and he goes, hey, Wyatt, hey, have you played center field a lot in your life? He's like, 4 or 5 times. And he's like, really? With your speed and everything, you didn't play center field? He's like, I've only played outfield for 2 years. We have to remember, when he went to Florida, he was a catcher. And then at Florida, they changed him to an outfielder, and he didn't play his freshman year. He wasn't good enough to play on Florida's team as a freshman. And then his sophomore year, he took off and exploded as a outfielder. And then he played outfield his junior year, and the Rangers drafted him. And then he played a little bit of outfield in the minor leagues. And then this year he's played outfield. So this is his 3rd year to play outfield in his life.
He did have a weird, even in left field the other night, he had that weird, he didn't quite judge it right.
He's learning.
Yeah.
Think about in his life, he hasn't even played outfield. He's been a catcher. Like in high school, he was a catcher. And so he's learning how to play the outfield. But at the same time, he's so talented when it comes to his gifts of speed that he's learning how to play the outfield. But I think it helps that he's not, you can call it a DH. You're just an extra hitter. You're just coming up there to hit, and then you go back to the dugout and you watch a baseball game. So I'm not trying to knock DHs. Ohtani's a DH, but you're not really a baseball player when you're just hitting every 3rd inning, sometimes every 2nd inning type of deal. So I do think that his improvement is, he talked about it. One is he went and watched his tape at Florida. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but he went back and
I'm listening.
They're like, all right, so what's going on? Like, well, let's go back to when you're successful. Let me watch successful at bats. Let me watch when I was dominating this world. Where was it? It was at the University of Florida. And then I guess you could go back to last year in the minor leagues. But he's like, let me go back to how I looked at Florida, what my at-bats looked like at Florida. And he's like, that has helped too, is going back and watching my successful at-bats at Florida. And so that has helped. I think playing in the field has helped tremendously. So he's engaged in the whole baseball game rather than just thinking about, hey, I had my at bat in the second inning. I'm going to get another at bat probably in the fourth or fifth inning. You're not thinking about the game. You're only thinking about your at bat. But when you're in the game, you can contribute in other ways, and you have to stay engaged in the game because you have to position yourself correctly before this at bat. And then if the ball's hit into the outfield or the ball's hit to shortstop, you have to back up that play. The ball's hit into the right field corner. You have to jog over and back up the play. Like, you're engaged in the whole game, not just in your only way to contribute will be your 3 to 4 at bats today. So I think that's helped out. By the way, to add to your stats that you had, where he has a 310 batting average this month, he has an 876 OPS this month. Wyatt Langford right now is batting 252 with a 733 OPS.
Is that good?
At the end, yeah, I'll take it. Okay. At the end of the month of May, he had a 222 batting average and a 573 OPS. So on May 31st, he had a 222 batting average. He's now at 252. He's raised that 30 points from the end of May till, June 23rd? Is that today's date?
It's the 24th.
24th, sorry. Today's the 24th. And a 573 OPS, which is now a 682. Like, that is
so
a
OPS
huge
climbed more than
improvement.
100 points. Man, that is pretty astonishing.
Yeah, and now the question I ask you guys, fair or unfair, do you think for the rest of the season, taking out April, I guess you can take March into it too, taking out the first 2 months, though, of the baseball season, where he was a 222 hitter with an under 600 OPS, do you think, I'm going to put a high standard on it and then we can change it. Do you think, because he's batting 310 this month with an 876 OPS, do you think he can bat a 300 or better the rest of the season? And then do you think he can have an OPS? I'll make this a lot lower, an 800 or better OPS the rest of the season?
I think he's got a better shot at OPS because I think the pop is going to start to show up more and more than I do the batting average. But I hope this counts as an answer to your question, Mike. I think he'll be significantly closer to these numbers than the struggle numbers.
Well, and here's the other I like what Kevin's saying because I hope the pop does arrive and stay and stick around. But we have not seen a full season of Wyatt Langford have a up and down. Is he Joey Gallo where he has a hot stretch and that's it, or is he
Adolis at
or
times,
is he Mr. Consistent? And you're just like, oh wow, pretty much you're going to get a hit out of him most nights. Well, it depends on what kind of hit. So I'm going to wait. And you're asking me if I'm thinking it's project. I don't know. But I think he will have a more pop throughout the rest of the season because he's gonna feel that a little bit and be like, hey, I'm hunting that pitch now to go put someone over the fence again.
And I think he really can because I was going back and looking kind of at the scouting scale because I was like, it's not just us who were thinking, man, this kid's going to be a stud. So if you go off the scouting scale, which is usually, is it 20 to 80?
Yes.
Right? Okay. So 20 to 80. Wyatt Langford, and I'll give you some examples if people are like, what the hell does that mean? Wyatt Langford was graded out as having 70 power. To compare that, here's other 70 tools. And that means that tool is plus. If you get to 80, you're like, holy crap.
You're Aaron Judge power.
Exactly. So 70 is kind of equivalent to Freddie Freeman's hitting ability, Blake Snell's curveball, or Ronald Acuna Jr.'s arm. So you're talking about like really, really plus right there. And so I think that's why you're finally starting to tap into it. And then Bruce Bochy said another thing, and you were just talking about when he went back and looked at his film from Florida. I think this is a reset that probably it did happen. And he goes, he got a little break, gave him a chance to look at some tape, get some at-bats in AAA. He came back up here, and he is a different player.
Yeah. Now this
perspective is everything, man.
We're looking at Wyatt Langford. Now I'm going to give you a couple of people that are premium prospects like him. Tonight, if you're watching some of the Ranger game, I get it, right? There's A&M, there's Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. And so I look at it and I go, all right, Jackson Chourio got a huge contract in the offseason at 20 years old. The Milwaukee Brewers are not a high revenue team, so they wanted to do let's lock in. You'd have to look up the number, but I think he got like an 8-year contract.
Yeah, I think that is right.
And so Jackson Chourio going into the month of June, 210 batting average, 581 OPS. In the month of June, he has a 294 batting average with an 821 OPS.
Oh, it's just not too far off of Wyatt. Yeah.
At the end of May last year, I've brought this up before, but it's been a while. I'll bring it up again. Gunnar Henderson, who might win the MVP this year. Okay, him, and right now it's Aaron Judge probably going to win it, and Gunnar Henderson going to finish in second. Right now,
Bobby Witt had a tough weekend.
He did, and so I would say, but those two right now are your two contenders for AL MVP. Last year, Gunnar Henderson won Rookie of the Year. On May 31st, he was batting .201 with a 702 OPS. So his OPS was much higher than Wyatt Langford or Jackson Chourio, who you'll see tonight at 20 years old. In the month of June, he hit .320 with a 994 OPS. Do you see the improvement that Gunnar Henderson had at the end of May? He's batting .201, okay, with a 702 OPS. At the end of June, he's hitting .240 with a 797 OPS. So he improves his batting average 39 points. And you can just see the improvement by the end of the year. As I scroll up, he hit .255 with an 814 OPS. So he improved his OPS over 100 points. He improved his batting average 54 points. And you look at what Wyatt Langford is doing, and I will say this now for Wyatt Langford. He's batting .252 right now. I think at the end of the year, he will have a batting average of .250 or better.
Okay.
So I think he's going to keep that above two. Now, it might dip to .240 at one point this year. Like, I can see that. But I think at the end of the year, Wyatt Langford is going to hit over .250. I think at the end of the year, right now, I need to pull him back up. Right now, he has a 682 OPS. I think at the end of the year, his OPS will be over 730.
Wow. Okay. I'm fine with that. I'm perfectly fine with that out of this year.
Absolutely.
And I'm giving you Jackson Chourio, who is having a similar year.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's 20, and Wyatt Langford's 22. Obviously, different path to the Major League Baseball, as Chourio was a 16-year-old, signee. Where
and he just turned 20 now.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just think that we're seeing a little bit of the way baseball's going, Corey, is this, hey, we're sending guys up maybe quicker than they should go up. And we're seeing major struggles, Jackson Holiday being one. And then we're seeing Chourio and Wyatt Langford being two others this year. Well, Gunnar Henderson maybe wasn't ready for Major League Baseball to start 2023. But by the end of 2023, he was super ready to be a great player.
And, I mean, honestly, the way the Rangers season is playing out right now, you're going to want him to be at his best at the end of the season, right? Like, that's what you're going to want for – and that's where my next phase of this is, okay, so how is he affecting the lineup, and how can he best impact the lineup?
Okay, I'm glad that you said that, because is there some level of comfort with – like, you're batting sixth right now. I realize that can vary some, but what's the level of comfort that comes along with your batting sixth or seventh, as opposed to, hey, welcome to the show, you're batting third?
Yeah, that probably, the Rangers, I don't know if they've said, well, we probably shouldn't have done that, but probably shouldn't have done that. And look, I probably shouldn't have said he's going to compete for the MVP. But at the end of the year, Gunnar Henderson did compete he had the third best WAR in the American League behind Seager and Semien. I think it was Semien Seager in that order when it came to WAR because of defense and stuff. But I think that let's keep him at 6 the rest of the way. I get there might be a game or two, but if Josh Young is coming back here soon, this probably isn't fair to Josh Young. Put him batting third. And then you have Adolis Garcia, who you might need to move down in the lineup a little bit, but maybe Josh Smith bats fourth. And then you have Adolis Garcia bat fifth, and then you have Nate Lowe, and you have Wyatt Langford, and you have Jonah Heim filling in the 6, 7, 8 role. And then you have, I don't know, is Leote going to stay in the lineup on an everyday basis? Because if I have Josh Smith in left field, where do I have Wyatt Langford? I don't want to move Wyatt Langford back to DH. This is my personal opinion. I'm not running the Texas Rangers. I'm not their general manager. I'm not an assistant general manager, and I'm not their manager. But I don't want to move Wyatt Langford back to a continuous designated hitter. I do think that could hurt him offensively.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out who our DH is going to be, Kevin, honestly.
From the 945, hopefully they accept this answer. Please explain OPS in a quick way.
Oh, sorry.
On base percentage plus slugging.
That's quick.